The first lessons. Only longtime Shih Tzu owners truly understand. If you live with Shih Tzus long enough, you start to notice a pattern that most new owners completely miss. The first few weeks with a Shih Tzu puppy are never as smooth as the internet makes them look. They're smaller than you expect, more sensitive than you expect, and far more overwhelmed by their new environment than most people realize. A lot of first-time owners worry they're doing something wrong, while those of us who have raised Shih Tzu puppies for years know that every puppy follows the same rhythm: a few days of uncertainty, a few weeks of learning to trust, and slowly, the moment when the house becomes their own territory. What books and guides rarely mention is that Shih Tzu puppies may be tiny, but their needs are not. They rely heavily on structure, gentle voices, quiet spaces, and predictable routines. They don't adjust instantly. They don't bond instantly. They don't understand your home instantly. After raising many generations of Shih Tzus, I've learned that the early stage isn't about teaching them tricks or rushing them into routines. It's about letting them settle, letting you adjust to them, and building the kind of trust that lasts for their entire life. And the very first step, the one that makes everything else easier, is creating a safe zone, a small space where the puppy learns that nothing bad will happen. Part 1. The safe zone where a Shih Tzu puppy learns to trust. In my experience, every Shih Tzu puppy arrives at a new home in the same emotional state: confused, a little frightened, and not ready to engage. That's why I always prepare a dedicated area for them, not a large one, not filled with distractions, but a quiet, controlled space where they can breathe and observe. This can be a corner of the living room, a sectioned-off part of the bedroom, or a simple playpen. The size doesn't matter. What matters is that the puppy feels ownership over the space. A small, cozy bed is the first thing I put in that zone. People often buy oversized beds because they look comfortable, but Shih Tzu puppies prefer something smaller where their bodies feel supported on all sides. I add a couple of simple toys, not the noisy, overstimulating ones, but soft toys the puppy can chew lightly when it feels unsure. I also place a water bowl close by, not because puppies drink much in the beginning, but because it reassures them that everything they need is within reach. Over the years, I've learned that a crate only works if you don't close the door. Shih Tzu puppies don't respond well to being locked in, but if the crate is left open, it becomes a little den they choose to enter on their own, which is exactly what you want: a refuge, not a prison. During those early days, I avoid overwhelming them. I sit nearby, speak gently, and let the puppy decide when to approach me. I let them explore at their own pace. Step out when they feel brave, step back when they feel unsure, and slowly claim the space as theirs. Carrying them too much or hovering too closely only slows down their adjustment. A Shih Tzu puppy needs time more than anything else. That safe zone becomes the place where the puppy learns its first and most important lesson in your home: I am not in danger here. And once a Shih Tzu puppy feels safe, everything else — eating well, sleeping well, training, bonding — becomes infinitely easier. Part 2. Feeding. Learning your puppy's rhythm before setting a routine. Feeding a Shih Tzu puppy is one of those things that looks simple on paper, but becomes a lot more nuanced once you've lived with enough of them. Every guide will tell you to use puppy-specific food and divide the meals throughout the day. And that's correct. But what longtime owners learn is that the real key is understanding the puppy's pace, appetite, and sensitivity, rather than forcing a strict schedule right from the start. Shih Tzu puppies have tiny stomachs and inconsistent hunger patterns during their first months, and they don't always eat the way you expect. Some will inhale every meal without hesitation, while others pick at their food slowly as if they're still deciding whether they fully trust their new environment. Across the many Shih Tzus I've raised, one thing has held true: small meals. Always. 4 times a day in the beginning. Not because it looks organized, but because their bodies simply can't handle anything larger. Big meals lead to bloating, upset stomachs, or leftover food that attracts ants before the puppy even realizes it's hungry again. I've also learned that overfeeding happens more easily than most people think. A puppy that looks hungry isn't always hungry. Shih Tzus often ask for attention in the exact same way they ask for food, and new owners misread the signals. Weight gain sneaks up quickly in this breed, and once they get used to overeating, correcting the habit becomes much harder. Water is another detail that sounds obvious, but matters more than you might expect. Shih Tzu puppies can forget to drink, especially when they're overstimulated or adjusting to a new home. I've had puppies who would only drink if the bowl was placed near their favorite resting spot, and others who preferred fresher water and ignored the bowl altogether if it sat still too long. Moving the bowl slightly or refreshing the water can make more difference than you'd think. What I always tell new owners is this before you build a feeding routine. Watch your puppy for a few days. See how often they wander toward their food. See if they eat better after play, after rest, or after reassurance. Learn if they're the type who needs a quiet corner to eat, or the type who wants you sitting nearby. Shih Tzus are small, but they are individuals. And feeding goes smoothly only when you match the rhythm of the puppy rather than forcing the puppy to match yours. Once the pattern becomes clear, the routine practically sets itself. You'll find the right portion size, the right spacing between meals, the right spots for the bowls, and the right times of day when your puppy naturally feels hungry. And when you get it right, you'll notice something subtle but satisfying. The puppy eats calmly, finishes each meal without stress, and goes about its day with the steady energy of a Shih Tzu that is growing well and settling in. Part 3. Play and exercise more about balance than burning energy when people picture puppies. They usually imagine constant chaos zooming around the house, bouncing off furniture, chasing anything that moves. And while some breeds really are like that, Shih Tzu puppies follow a very different rhythm. After raising enough of them, I've learned that their energy comes in short waves. They'll explode with enthusiasm for 10 minutes, then act like they've climbed a mountain and need a full recovery session. The trick isn't to wear them out. It's to give them the right kind of activity without overwhelming their still developing joints and lungs. New owners often make the mistake of thinking a Shih Tzu puppy needs long walks or intense play to stay healthy. In reality, their body simply isn't built for that at a young age. Their legs are short, their breathing isn't efficient yet, and their bones are still soft. Over-exercising them does more harm than good. I've seen puppies limping after a walk that was just a little too far, or coughing after play that was just a little too rough. What they need is several short, gentle play sessions spread throughout the day. 5 to 10 minutes is enough for most puppies, especially in the first months. I've also noticed that Shih Tzu puppies get mentally tired much faster than they get physically tired. You don't need to run them around the yard. You just need to give them something that engages their brain. A simple game of find the treat or letting them explore a safe new room does more for their development than throwing a ball 50 times. Even small puzzle toys can completely reset their mood, helping them build confidence and problem-solving skills. It doesn't have to be fancy. Sometimes a rolled towel with hidden kibble keeps a puppy busy longer than any store-bought toy. The important thing is learning your puppy's signals because a Shih Tzu rarely pushes through exhaustion. When they flop onto the floor mid-play or suddenly lose interest in everything, that's their body saying, "That's enough for now." Ignoring that leads to overtiredness, which then leads to crankiness, barking, and disrupted sleep. A well-balanced Shih Tzu puppy is one that plays in bursts, rests in bursts, and never feels forced to keep up with expectations that don't match their size. If there's one rule I've settled on after years of raising them, it's this: let the puppy set the pace. Encourage movement, but don't demand it. Offer toys, but don't overstimulate. Let them explore, but in short, safe doses. When you respect their natural rhythm, something interesting happens. The puppy becomes calmer, easier to train, and far more confident. Play stops being a way to drain energy and becomes a way to build trust. And with Shih Tzus, trust is worth more than any amount of exercise you could ever give. Part 4. Health checks and vet visits. The habits that save you trouble. Later, one thing you learn quickly when raising Shih Tzu puppies is that health problems rarely shout at you. They whisper, a bit of watery eyes, a soft cough after play, a slightly warm belly, a nap that lasts a little too long. None of it looks dramatic on its own. But together, they tell you exactly when it's time for a vet check. After raising enough Shih Tzus, I've learned to stop brushing off these small signs. This breed hides discomfort well, sometimes too well. So the owner has to be the one paying attention. Vet visits during the puppy months are more than vaccines and weight checks. They are the foundation for the dog's long-term stability. Every Shih Tzu I've raised needed a full exam within the first week, not because something was wrong, but because it established a baseline. You learn their normal heartbeat, their normal breathing pattern, their normal temperature. That way, years later, when something feels off, you don't guess blindly. You compare. And that comparison often catches problems early, when they're easiest to treat. Vaccines are important. Of course, parvo, distemper. The basics, but the part new owners underestimate is the conversation with the vet. A good vet will warn you what to expect with a brachycephalic breed like Shih Tzu, minor snorting, occasional reverse sneezes, sensitivity to heat, tear staining, dental crowding. Hearing this early prevents panic later, because when you're prepared, the first cough or sneeze doesn't send you into fear. You know which signs matter and which ones don't. I also learned very quickly that regular health checks prevent expensive crises. A tiny ear infection caught early is a simple cleaning, ignored for a month. It becomes scratching, head shaking, bad smell, and medication. Same with skin issues, as Shih Tzu's coat hides irritation easily, so I make it a habit to check the belly, armpits, and paws at least once a week. These small habits, done consistently, always save you money in the long run. Vet visits also help socialize the puppy. The earlier they learn that being touched, examined, and held by strangers is normal, the easier everything becomes when they grow older. The Shih Tzus I rushed through appointments when I was inexperienced became the ones most anxious later. The ones I let smell the room, approach the vet slowly, and sit on my lap for a minute first. Those grew into calm adults who walked into clinics without stress. If there's one thing experience has taught me, it's this with Shih Tzus. Prevention is always better than correction. Small checks prevent big problems. Early visits build trust, and a good vet partnership keeps your dog healthier than any supplement or gadget ever will. And once you've seen how much smoother life becomes with this approach, you never skip the little things again. Part 5. Training and socialization. Start small, stay consistent, and don't rush their confidence. Training a Shih Tzu puppy is one of those things that looks straightforward when you read about it, but becomes more nuanced the moment you actually start. Over the years, I've learned that Shih Tzus are not difficult to train, but they are particular. They respond best to routines, gentle encouragement, and short sessions that end on a success. Push them too hard, raise your voice, or ask for too much at once, and you'll see them shut down faster than you expect. They're sensitive dogs, not fragile, just emotionally tuned in, and they learn best when they trust the person teaching them. The first commands I always teach are simple ones. Sit, come, and leave it. Not because they're impressive, but because they're useful in everyday life. A puppy that understands sit can calm itself during excitement. A puppy that understands come is easier to redirect in confusing situations. And leave it is essential for a breed that explores the world with its mouth. What I've learned is that the magic isn't in the command, it's in the timing. Reward the puppy the exact second it performs the behavior, not after. Longtime owners all end up saying the same thing: timing teaches the lesson, not the words. Potty training is where reality hits new owners the hardest. Shih Tzu puppies don't have strong bladder control in the beginning, and accidents are part of the process, whether you like it or not. The mistake people make is assuming the puppy knows better after a few days. They don't. They're learning patterns. not morality. The only thing that works consistently is a strict schedule. Take them to the potty spot after waking up, after eating, after playing, and every hour in between. Praise heavily when they get it right. Stay neutral when they get it wrong. Correcting too harshly only slows the process. Socialization is another area where experience makes a difference. Many new owners think socialization means exposing the puppy to as many dogs and people as possible. But Shih Tzus don't respond well to chaos. What they need is controlled exposure. Calm dogs, calm people, calm environments. They flourish when they're introduced slowly, with space to observe before participating. Forcing them into busy parks or loud gatherings early on often does the opposite of what you want instead of becoming confident. They become cautious or withdrawn. What I've learned through the years is that confidence in a Shih Tzu doesn't grow from big, dramatic experiences. It grows from small wins repeated consistently. Meeting one friendly dog, sitting quietly in a new room, hearing a vacuum cleaner from a distance, being handled gently during grooming. These little steps create a stable, well-adjusted dog far more effectively than any big socialization day ever could. And above all, training and socialization are not about creating a perfect dog. They're about building a language between you and your Shih Tzu. A language that says, I understand you. You can trust me. And we will figure things out together. Once that foundation is set, the rest of their life becomes much easier for both of you.